ever been in a custody cell on a compulsory basis. So let me just spend a moment or two telling you sort of the story like it is. Police cells are the entry point of the criminal justice for all suspects, from drink drivers to football hooligans to rapists to phone hackers, drug barons, City of London fraudsters, errant politicians and murder suspects. All at this early stage is where they come to begin their journey. Maybe a journey to innocence, maybe a journey into prison. And from observation, I know, from personal experience, I know that arrivals in the custody suite are often shell-shocked, they're often confused, and they're often full of drink or drugs or bellicose denials that they've done anything wrong. Custody units aren't places of judgment, they are places of fair and due process, and that process may consist of quite complex procedures which you will perhaps get some insight to when you go around the rooms of this superb facility. There have to be rooms for medical tests, interviewing under the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, interventions by lawyers, by mental health experts, drug counsellors, and of course the formalities of granting or not granting police bail and charging. And the environment in which all this quite complex activity takes place is important. I really do congratulate Gloucestershire on opening what is undoubtedly the finest police custody environment in the whole country. But that description, true though it is, and that first prize, real though it is, has to be said that it's been achieved against competition which is not always formidable. Custody suites across the country have so often been the poor cousins, the losers in budgetary battles. And here I must enter a plea of guilty as a former Chief Secretary of the Treasury. So I'm quite used to heckling in the House of Commons. I was just saying that custody suites tend to be losers in budgetary battles, because when it comes to allocating funds in the law and order budget, police forces generally are not always superb at this white-hall skill, and certainly police cells come pretty low in the pecking order. And if as a result you look across the whole estate in the country of police cells, you would find some pretty dismal scenes, and the Chief Constable brought back a memory or two with a vivid description of the smells in those police cells. My own experiences of being in police custody in a cell were perfectly fair as far as the police officers were concerned, but the environment in which they were having to work, and this was in a metropolitan police cell at Chelsea police station, the environment was inadequate and at times frightful. I say that because between being asked questions about the Guardian newspaper and bills in the Ritz Hotel, this was punctuated by a raucous cacophony of noise from drunks and druggies and ferocious domestic disputes, all taking place in the adjacent communal cells, which seem to be frequently overcrowded. And the overcrowding and congestion does lead to huge time wasting and inefficiency. My own first visit to a police cell lasted over 19 hours, which, considering I had turned up with the intention of pleading guilty and making confessional statement, seemed rather excessive. But over half of that time was simply spent waiting around in the cell while material came in from other police stations on the outside of London. But at least that gave me an opportunity to observe how difficult and overcrowded and hysterical life in the busy set of police cells can be. And so in my journey of repentance, I must say that I repented quite early as Chief Secretary of the Treasury that hadn't been more generous to police budgets and police cell budgets in particular. Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't gone soft on crime just because I've been to prison. I realise that there is no way that occupying a police cell is going to be a good experience. But it should be a fair and decent and humane experience. And this is simply not possible in quite a few police stations where the physical infrastructure is so poor. Here in Gloucester, you really are breaking new ground to have 50 police cells serving the whole county on one site, to have good technical facilities such as CCTV, video links, Wi-Fi, is absolutely certain to save a great deal of police time and police money. And that's, of course, also going to be good for those who support suspects, like counsellors, lawyers, and so on. And a point which the Assistant Chief Constable, Sally Crook, mentioned to me yesterday, I think I must have been an audience of one in this particular department, so it's very good for protecting well-known prisoners from the paparazzi. Well, I wish I'd come here. But it's also, of course, going to be good for budgetary success on a much wider scale. This facility, I understand, cost 12.4 million, which is a lot of money, but thanks to good housekeeping, I understand the link with what we're doing today, and yet at a deeper level it is. And this is the cause of rehabilitation. Let me get into the subject by telling you a little anecdote. In my first few hours as a prisoner in Her Majesty's Prison, Belmarsh, it was full of surprises. First surprise was how young everybody was. The average age of a prisoner at that stage in Belmarsh Prison was 26, which meant there were masses of 18, 19-year-olds floating around the system, full of all the sort of aggro young men, some of which fell in those police cells. Secondly, I was astonished by the prevalence of drug use in our big jails. My first weekend in Belmarsh, I thought I was in some sort of Moroccan soup rather than English prison, so many were tottering around on these substances. But the biggest surprise, when I got to know my fellow prisoners a little better, was that I saw, for all the bad things we'd all done, an awful lot of people in the jail, in the police cells, were themselves vulnerable people. I discovered this as a result of a not unamusing little incident. About day 2 of my sentence, a young prisoner came up to me and said in a hushed whisper, "I've got a problem, could you do me a favour? I've just had a letter from my brief, but I can't read it. Could you read it to me?" And I did, and the letter was from his solicitor telling him that he and his family were going to be evicted from their council flat in South Lambeth for non-payment of rent. When he got this news, this guy absolutely climbed up the wall in fury and anger, and despair, and kept shouting, "What shall I do? What shall I do?" It so happened in the confines of Belmarsh Prison, he couldn't come to a better source of advice, because for 25 years I've been doing eviction cases, and therefore knew all the ropes and strings to pull and appeals procedures. Anyway, I told him how to get a little extra time, and he thought this was all brilliant. And then his face fell slightly, and he said, "Look, I don't do no reading nor no writing neither. Could you write it for me?" So I wrote this letter for him, and he then, instead of doing the expected things like putting the letter into a mailbox or putting it in his pocket, instead he did something very unexpected. He transformed himself into a sort of 19th century, 18th century town crier, and held the letter aloft and went down the wing, saying over and over again at the top of his voice, "This MP geezer, he's got fantastic joined-up writing." Now, this testimonial to my graphological skills fell on a surprisingly receptive audience, because in any big prison, a third of all prisoners cannot read or write to an adequate level. And that's only one of the many, many problems. And anyway, from that moment of advertising by the town crier onwards, every single night of my sentence, there were a dozen or so young men queuing outside my cell door to get letters read for them or written for them, often on the most intimate subjects imaginable. And this became as part of a certain amount of good-natured prison humour. I remember one old lag saying to me one day, "Oh, John, do you realise all this letter-writing business of yours, you is having a fantastic impact on the girls of Brixton. They can't believe the sudden improvement in the love letters they're getting." Be that as it may, that queue every night outside myself taught me so much, which is why I spend so much of my life now on criminal justice charities. I'm a trustee or a vice president or something of approximately 11 of them. And I think quite deeply about problems which underlie the arrivals in this facility. And these are not easy problems for the police, who have to deal with some of the most difficult people imaginable, some of the most difficult problems. And quite quickly, we learn that the repeat offending rate is going to be pretty terrible for every, roughly speaking, 10 people who come out of a prison, 7 are going to be back there again in 2 years in this revolving door of crime. How do we stop it? It's not easy. There aren't quick fixes. Rehabilitation is crucial. But I think where it starts is in the system itself being honourable, decent, run by fair-minded, fair people. And I think that prisoners, at least, are very often divided into realists and fantasists. Fantasists very often being also encouragers. But the realists, with luck, see quite quickly that the game isn't worth it, and the game they're playing is a lot less honourable, fair quality than the decent system operated even within the criminal justice system, let alone within society as a whole. So every police officer who treats...
Are you ready? Yes. Yeah, I went to St. Union.
Yeah, she's with
Gloucestershire, yeah.
And can I just get one more time?
Martin, do you mind if you go back a little bit further? That's it, and then she'll do a nice place.
Again.
You might well be. On the elected, I'm doing the Strand debate.
Magic, thank you.
And can I get you pulling the curtain?
Close it again.
Yeah, that'd be